What is up, guys? Fado82 coming at you with another edition of Rust Cribs, in which we take a look at some of the more noteworthy base designs during the past week on the US Rustopia server. Right off the bat, we're taking a look at absolutely a stunning achievement and my favorite base this week, which is from the URXP clan. It has a bit of a castle motif going for it, and they've used signs to really give this base a sense of itself. It also has signs here that recreate the forest rust image, which is really cool. Beyond being aesthetically pleasing, those signs actually have a bit of utility to them as well, in that they disallow people from placing ladders on that wall. So those signs actually prevent people from laddering up the wall, and it's an added layer of protection. The inside of the compound has a base that's very functional in its design. It has multiple layers which will mitigate against ladders, as well as help soak up rockets if the base is raided. We also see there's more artwork going on in here, and the players spend a tremendous amount of time on it. And this is really the stuff that I like to show off, guys, the hard work of players. So as we pan out here, we can see that the design of the compound is structured so that when players are defending, they have lines of sight in all directions, both inside and outside the compound. Absolutely brilliant design, and I really like it. We're seeing a lot more usage of the triangle foundations, because the cost of the triangles has been lowered and they're now on par with their square counterparts. So we're seeing a lot more triangle bases, and that's a good example of what people are doing. Over here where their quarry is, they've walled that off with multiple layers of ledges to again prevent against ladders, and this is housing their quarries, which have got a buff during the past week and are much more functional. Some players decided to build a lighthouse base in the farthest reaches of the map. They found a lighthouse that was spawned in the middle of a lake in between two land masses. It's in the winter biome, very difficult to get to. They had to build a bridge to get out to it, and then they attempted to wall it off with a wall, making it in a sense a type of a water base. You can see there's auxiliary tool cabinets around the base, both suspended in the air and then also in the water, which help mitigate people building in this area and help to prevent against raiders. This lighthouse base is not as functional as other base designs, because lighthouse bases are very tricky to build on and they give you limited space, but it's a really cool concept design, and this base, to my knowledge, was not raided. It's actually a difficult one to attempt to raid because of the way that this lighthouse spawned in. It's really in the middle of nowhere, and in that winter biome, it gives the homeowners a lot of added protection against raiders. I really like this design. It's really cool to see players experiment with different things in Rust, and it's really interesting when they do something that's out of the ordinary like this. We don't see things like this too often, so it's special. Riot, Tobias, and the YPB crew took their hand at building a satellite base this go around on the US Rustopia server, and Riot put his building skills to the test. Absolutely beautiful base design utilizing the satellite. We recently did a base build video on building on the satellite, so if you guys want to check out how to build a base like this, go check out that video. But Riot and Tobias are smart guys, and they knew that they didn't want to rely on just one base. So while that's one of their bases, they also have a base down here beyond their quarry that's walled off. That is one of their main bases, and it's a base that has different tiers on it, which are going to help soak up rockets and also prevent against ladder raids. It's always good to spread your stuff apart in bases, your loot, because if one of your bases gets hit, you want to have a base to fall back on. So that's why they have the satellite base as well as this main base here. Smart design, and they always build efficiently and they build smart. In addition, they have what's called a flank base here, which is essentially a tower that's going to allow them to defend if raiders start coming in. Still under construction, but always something that you want to employ in your base designs. And as always, the LQM clan was very industrious this go around on the Rustopia server. They built a massive compound over here, which is very beautiful and functional as well. I really like seeing stuff like this because it both shows how beautiful the building in Rust can be, but also how functional it can be as well. On every corner of this base, they have positions to defend from, so they have battlements on each point of the base. And then on the inside of the base, they took some tips from Tim Nagat on Dirt McGirt's crew, and they were able to build the ledges, which help mitigate against the ladders and make them more aesthetically pleasing. There's also shooting ports or windows in here, which help them to see out in that inner part of that compound, so they're going to be able to defend this base really well. As we pan out, we can see that LQM, as usual, has built various structures around the base. Mainly they focused on quarries this time, and again, quarries have been buffed, so that's really good to see. They put them to the test. As we're taking a look here, LQM wisely chose their location, building with the ocean to their back and a river to their side, which helps to kind of use the geography in their favor. As we pan in here, we can see that they actually have a neighbor here with an interesting base design, and the neighbor actually ended up being Dirt McGirt. Now, I wasn't on Rustopia as much as I would like to be this week, so I'm not sure if this means LQM and Dirt were allies this go-around, but they sure did build close to one another. And speaking of Dirt McGirt, we're going to go ahead and take a look at his base design, which was designed by Dirt and Tim Nagat, who is Dirt's right-hand man and master builder. We can see, as always, he's using those outer ledges, those outer walls, which help to stop the ladders and do it in a way that's more aesthetically pleasing. A lot of people have asked how he's doing this, and I don't want to give his secrets away. You might be able to figure it out from looking at it, or Tim Nagat might be a nice guy and actually just respond to some comments here. But he's doing it in a way where you don't have these huge ledges jutting out of the base, but rather smaller ledges that kind of make it look a little nicer, a little cleaner, if you will. What I like about this base design is, as always, it has all points covered. It's still under construction, but those towers on each end are nice embattlements and help the defenders rather to defend against raiders. They have their quarries walled off, which is always good practice. And as we pan out, we can see that the base has a really nice footprint, and they're really using a wise choice of the landscape here. And now we're taking a look at the RFD compounds base on the US Rustopia server. Very interesting base design, and they have a couple things here which I want to talk about, which I really think are great illustrations of what to do with base design. First and foremost, they have the quarries housed separate from the main base, and the quarries have outer ledges on the wall, so if a raider gets into a quarry, they can't just vault over into the main compound. Really smart design. Now, a raid was attempted on this compound, and I was able to catch part of it, and some of the key features that prevented the raiders from getting very far in the base was what we're looking at right now, which is a bit of an embattlement or a bunker on top of the main base, which allowed the defenders to shoot at the raiders in every direction in a 360-degree radius here. Very important design feature, and because it was armored, it was very well protected. In addition, along the same lines, this tall crow's nest or tower here was a key feature that was able to give the defenders a vantage point and hold the raiders at bay. Less secure than what we were just looking at, but has a bit of a height advantage to it and was a key part to that battle. Also, this outer flank base proved to be invaluable, and it was able to help keep the raiders from getting too far. And while we're on the subject of compounds, we're going to take a look at one of the larger compounds that was put together on the Rustopia server this go-around. I'm not sure who constructed this compound, what clan it was, so if anyone knows, please comment. I saw various clans in here, so I wasn't really sure who owned it, and I didn't want to give a name to it because I wasn't 100% sure. But as we zoom out here, you can see that it has an absolutely massive footprint, and there's a lot going on here. So a lot of bases housed inside the compound, but this is giving the people a sense of community and also allowing people to tap into each other's resources when a raid is occurring. You'll notice how extensive the compound is as we zoom in here. We were looking at just part of it when we were zoomed out before, and as we come in here, we're taking a look at various bases which have various levels of security to them and probably have different functionality in terms of how they're used inside that group. The quarries are in there with the main bases, but it doesn't really matter too much with this design, and it's a really cool concept. Again, as we pan out, you can see the full scope of it, and one of the things that I really like about this compound is how they use the topography of the map to their advantage. They're built kind of close to a mountainside, which is somewhat hard to traverse, and that's a really interesting way to build. I always like it when players integrate their bases with the topography, with the geography of the map, and I think it's really interesting and just a really good example of what can be done when players put their resources and their energy into one place. I really hope you enjoyed this edition of Rust Cribs on the US Rustopia server. If you want to see more of this, let me know. If you want to comment or find out more about any of these individual base designs, leave a comment below, and the base builders will be sure to go ahead and get back to you. I'm going to leave you guys with another look at that badass UR-XP base design, and we're going to take a look at it as night is setting, which gives a different tone to it, but I think it complements that first section well, and again, I love this base design. As always, guys, I had a lot of fun making this. Fado82, peace.